Okay, picture this, a world with no science. A world where every single storm, every sunrise is just the whim of some god. Now, imagine being the person who changed all that. We're going to go back, way back, over 2,500 years, to meet the guy who's called the very first philosopher in the Western tradition, Thales of Miletus. And hey, this isn't some title we just slapped on him in modern times. Ancient historians like Plutarch, they saw it clearly. When he says Thales raised philosophy from mere speculation to practice, what he's really saying is huge. It means Thales wasn't just some guy with his head in the clouds. He was the first one to take this new way of thinking and actually apply it to the real world. But he's a figure who's totally shrouded in legend. We've got stories, we've got theorems, a legacy that literally shapes civilization. But who was the actual man behind the myth? Trying to piece it all together is like this amazing historical puzzle. So let's start digging, shall we? Right, so first up, what makes him the first philosopher? What's the big deal? To get that, we really have to wrap our heads around just how completely revolutionary his approach was. See, he didn't just come up with a new answer. He completely changed how we even ask questions about the world.
Before Thales, everything was explained through what we call mythos. So, why is there an earthquake? Oh, a god must be angry. Why does the sun rise? Easy, a deity is dragging it across the sky in a chariot. It's all about gods and their moods. Thales, though, he championed a totally different way of thinking. Logos. He started looking for, natural causes, rational explanations. He basically said, hey, maybe the world isn't just this chaotic place run by divine whims. Maybe it's an ordered system, a cosmos, that we can actually understand with our own brains, through observation and reason. That right there, that's the huge shift from myth to science.
Okay, so who was the man who made this incredible leap? Well, this is where the real detective work begins, because let me tell you, the evidence is pretty thin.
So this is the face we usually associate with Thales. But here's the thing. This image, it's just an interpretation. It's based on a Roman bust that was carved centuries after he was even alive. The simple, honest truth, we have absolutely no idea what he actually looked like. And that, right there, gets to the absolute heart of the mystery. We have zero original writings from Thales himself. Not a single word has survived. Every single thing we think we know comes to us secondhand, from writers who are looking back centuries later, basically trying to assemble the same puzzle we are right now.
Just look at this gap in time. Our main source for his biography, a guy named Diogenes Laertius, was writing almost 800 years after Thales died. To put that in perspective, that's like you or me trying to write a definitive biography of someone from the 1200s with nothing to go on but folklore and stories passed down through the generations. That's the challenge here. A massive historical void just filled with legend and hearsay. But we do have one thing. There's this one event, this one solid anchor that plants Thales firmly in history and gives us a real glimpse of his incredible mind. So, the historian Herodotus, who is writing about 150 years after it happened, tells this amazing story. He says that Thales predicted the exact year of a solar eclipse. And this wasn't just any eclipse. On May 28, 585 BC, the sky went dark right in the middle of a huge battle between two armies. It was so shocking, so dramatic that they just stopped fighting. This single event is what people often call the birth of science. It was this incredible moment where human reason looked up at the cosmos and successfully predicted its next move.
So, we've got the man anchored in history by this just unbelievable feat. Now, let's turn to his most famous idea. And it's an idea that, honestly, when you first hear it, it sounds almost kind of childish. But in reality, it changed philosophy forever.
See, Thales was searching for something the Greeks called the arche. Think of it as the ultimate question. What is the single underlying stuff that everything, and I mean everything, is made of? What's the one basic substance, the origin point for the entire universe?
And this was his answer. Like I said, it sounds so simple you might just laugh, but the implications were massive. He proposed that everything you see, rocks, air, fire, even people, was all, ultimately, just a different form of water.
Okay, so why water? Of all things, why pick water? Well, we don't have Thales' own notes, but Aristotle, writing later, had a few pretty good guesses. Think about it. All life needs water, right? All our food is moist, the seeds of plants are moist, and, maybe most importantly, water is the one thing they could see with their own eyes change its state. It goes from solid ice to liquid water to a gas, mist. It must have looked like the ultimate shapeshifter, a substance with the power to become anything. And this idea led directly to his model of the world. He pictured a flat Earth, basically just floating on a giant ocean. So in this view, what's an earthquake? It's not an angry god, it's just the Earth getting rocked by waves. See, it's a completely natural explanation. And what's so cool is that you can immediately see his student, Anaximander, taking this idea and starting to challenge it, to make it more abstract. And that's exactly what science is all about, progress.
The philosopher Nietzsche, centuries later, really nailed why this was so important. He said the specific choice, water, wasn't the point. The real breakthrough was the thought behind it. For the very first time, someone was looking at the universe and saying, hey, this isn't just a random collection of different things. It's a unified whole, and it can be explained by one single principle. All things are one. Now that is a world-changing thought.
But Thales wasn't just some philosopher with his head in the clouds. No way. He was a practical guy from Miletus, which was a super busy trading hub. He took his new way of thinking, his reason, and applied it to solve real-world problems.
For instance, he's the guy credited with bringing formal geometry over to Greece from places like Egypt. But he didn't just copy what they were doing. He created abstract proofs. The theorems that still have his name on them today, they're all about the basic fundamental properties of shapes like circles and triangles. He was taking practical, hands-on measurement and turning into a beautiful system of universal logical rules.
And he put that geometry to absolutely brilliant use. The legend goes that he completely blew the Egyptians' minds by measuring the height of the Great Pyramids. How'd he do it? No ladders, no climbing, just pure logic. He used the idea of similar triangles. He just waited for the exact moment of the day when his own shadow is the same length as his height. He knew that at that exact moment, the length of the pyramid's shadow would be equal to its actual height. It's simple, it's elegant, and it's just pure genius.
So when we put all this together, these stories, these theories, these historical fragments, what's the big takeaway? What is the real, lasting legacy of Thales of Miletus?
Well, first, we get a picture of a real, actual person. There's that famous story about him falling into a well because he was too busy looking up at the stars. It's basically the origin story for the whole absent-minded professor stereotype. It's a great little story because it's so humanizing, you know? It shows he was this revered genius, but also people could have a little fun at his expense. And man, was he clever. Apparently, people used to tease him, saying, "Hey Thales, if you're so smart, how come you're not rich?" So he decided to prove a point. Using his ability to predict things, in this case, the weather for a great olive harvest, he went out and cornered the market on every single olive press in the city. Then, when the huge harvest came in, he rented them out for a massive profit. He proved that, yeah, a philosopher could easily get rich, they just usually have more important things on their mind.
But ultimately, this is his real impact. Thales didn't just have a few good ideas. He started a tradition, a whole new way of doing things. He founded a school, the Milesian School, and he actively encouraged his own students to challenge him, to build on his work. As one of the legendary 7 sages of Greece, his gift wasn't just an answer, it was a new method. He laid the foundation of rational thought that everyone from Pythagoras and Aristotle all the way to the scientists of today would build upon.
Thales' story really proves that a single new way of looking at things can literally change the world. He's the one who taught us to ask how and why, and to look for the answers not in stories about the gods, but in the natural world all around us. So that leaves us with one last question to think about. What is our all is water? What's the single radical idea emerging today that just might have the power to completely redefine our world tomorrow?